Okay, here we are at the Battle of Ascalon. Or, yeah, okay. Got confused for a moment here. This is very soon after the Crusaders captured Jerusalem from the Fatimids of Egypt. And the Fatimid pulled back his troops. They're not led by the Caliph themselves. They're led by his vizier, who apparently the Caliph was partying. Anyway, the Egyptian forces have pulled back to Ascalon, and the Crusaders follow. And, a little bit of weird story stuff, something to do with sheep. Always interesting, but not really relevant to the battle. What ended up happening was the Crusaders stumbled in and completely surprised the Egyptian forces. And what we've got is a situation where we've got a lot of the forces are ready and on the line, but the cav, especially the very best Mamluk heavy cav, notice one thing, some of this cav is, it's hard to tell, but it's a different symbol. It's camels. Makes me happy. But the Mamluks are not on camels, and it would be hard to mount a heavy cav on camels. We got some other interesting units in this one. First of all, there's no missile cav at all. No archers. So that's gone from this battle. The Egyptians didn't use that. But what did they use? Well, they have these Sudanese archers who are armed with flails, and flails were particularly effective against the heavier armor. So they're given a combat bonus against, because of that particular armament configuration, instead of the hand axes or whatever that Western archers were armed with. Is it really fair to give them a bonus against everything? Well, the combat chart should actually take that into account. Let's see. They're significantly better against normal archers as well. I'm not sure that they should be. Because that weapon, really, its effectiveness probably stems from its ability to deal with armor. I'm not sure the designers took that into effect. They may have just taken into effect, wow, these guys were kicking ass through the battle in the reports, without really looking into the why of that. But I've got the why of it. Okay. What else is kind of odd here? Well, so here's one thing for the whole series. There's a terrain effects chart for each battle, which is kind of an interesting thing. Feels expensive to me, but so in this case, we have a couple of special things. There's a plateau, I believe that's here, which is kind of hard to get on top of, but if you get on top of it, it's flat. I can't see that being a big part of the battle. There's some dunes, which apparently were very difficult to maneuver through, and that kind of makes sense, especially for horses. I could see that being... I've been on dunes, and they're not easy to move through. The city itself is locked. The gate is actually locked, and the Egyptians can't even go into it. So... we got these camps, and I'm looking for them, and I don't... Oh, there they were. Oh, camps count as clear. Okay. Alright, so mainly they're just there for attractiveness. So we got some special rules, though, for this one. One is there's only one Egyptian commander. And again, the Crusaders do not have an overall army commander. They're just... So how the hell does that work with only one commander? I see lots of colored stripes here, right? And let me point out my different commands. So for the Crusaders, we have Raymond of Toulouse and Robert of Normandy, and then Godfrey of Bouillon, And too bad if they've died before, they still get to play. And now for the Egyptians, we have archers and more archers. And they all count as one unit and are activated together. Pikemen. These are what? Bedouin cav, medium cav. We've got Berber medium cav, probably very similar composition. And then we've got the Mamluks in the back. Well, the Berbers start out disordered, which means you have to wake them up. The Mamluks start out worse than disordered. They start off sleeping or something. You have to spend an action to make them just be disordered, and then they can just take an activity. So, normal activities, well, it doesn't matter where you are, you're in command if you're an Egyptian. And this guy uses his command numbers for everything, except the range doesn't matter. That's why I can have my archers split, and that's how they would be. They'd have to be 2 commands otherwise. And, that's allowing a little more flexibility than maybe the system is meant to have, but I guess it's okay. The only problem I have with it is it feels like there should be unnamed leaders for each of these units. And instead what we have is one dude that I absolutely have to keep out of the battle. Flags, both Crusaders have flags for all their commands. There's one flag for the entire Egyptian army, which means that it could end up with a clusterfuck the way we saw in the first battle for the Crusaders. And how about flight points? Well, they're not pretty on this one. This is Ascalon. Crusaders end at 20. And, well, the Turks. How about the Egyptians? I'll leave at 25. I think this is going to be a tough one for the Egyptians to win. There's a balancing factor, which is get rid of the restrictions on these guys, make them all healthy and happy. Of course, I'm not going to play with that. And I think that's about it. Guess we'll get to start this one. Well, things opened up with the Crusader right flank moving forward, and they lost the initiative. The Egyptians pushed forward with their 2 archers squads and opened fire. Got a little bit of this, but this side has just gotten shot all to holes. A couple of retired units, a dead unit because those flail-armed guys not only went in, it destroyed the archers, but then they plowed into this pikeman, which stopped them, but kind of cool. I'm going to try for another activation. I'm going to think about what it is after I get it, because it really doesn't make a difference. And I do get one, so I'll figure out what I'm going to do. Feels like a good idea to move this infantry up. Much as I want to start getting my cav ready, I want to get that infantry in the center. So I think I'm going to do that. Well, those Sudanese archers certainly are painful to deal with. So I activated Godfrey's command, and he moved forward. Took a lot of archer fire here. I mean, there's not a lot you can do. You're facing him. There's not really room to maneuver. In we go. And you can see the effect. Some of that's cav. I think 2 knights got retired from this. One broke through. This is against the regular pike and sent that smashing. Sent one back here. There's our retreat points right now. Now, I'll try real hard to remember. The Crusaders, once they hit above 10, they got to start checking. Gotta remember that. Okay. And they lost the initiative, which means we're handing things back over to the Fatimids. And I don't know if they need the cap. They're pretty potent. Maybe too potent. Okay, so here we are at Ascalon, and the Egyptians activated their archers again, and really kind of, this guy healed, shot the hell out of the Crusaders, especially over on this side. We're seeing everything's. What did that affect? Well, one thing it did was it put this up to 12, which meant on an 8 or higher, an 8 or a 9, Crusader flight level would be reached. I rolled a 7. They're safe. But that's how risky this is. We were talking about this online on the board. That die roll is a big deal. You know, the game could be over and the battle has hardly started. Okay, but the Crusaders get an activation and they had better rally that. So even though they tried to use Godfrey to get a continuation after that, he's not their best, but he's got a 4. They failed, so now they've got this. It's all disordered and probably easy pickings to be sent back into the same status. We do see, though, that the Crusaders are down to 5 flight points, so they're in a lot better shape. But they've got to win some of the initiatives here. So the archers are showing their supremacy still. I activated the Bedouins, moved them up with the thought of trying to drive into this mass. And then activated the archers. And this guy went charging through some infantry and then slammed into, accidentally, continuation, some cav that countercharged him. So he paid something of a price for that. But he did destroy the infantry, I believe. Oh yeah, retired it. Same thing in terms of morale points for infantry. Of course, you could recover the injured ones or the retired ones. But here we're seeing that just crushed it. It took out a knight, actually, between archery fire and then one of these things just charging in. Was able to knock that out. And now we have very high rating again. As an 8 will change it, but I've got another chance at a continuation. I need a 2 or less now. And get that. I don't know what to wake up. I think I'll just wake up my cav. So I don't feel like I can do any real damage with anything except the archers. And they just went. Okay. And now I need a 1. That should be moved forward a space, but and they don't get that. So we have a continuation. Not a continuation. We have a switch of players, and now on an 8 or a 9, the Crusaders leave the field, and they leave the field. That's the battle. Bang. Those flail wielders are pretty damn potent. I think I may have cheated with them a little bit. They're not allowed to fire and attack, and I may have done that in a couple of cases. Not absolutely positive. But, yeah, this definitely is a tougher fight on the Crusaders than it would have been. It would have appeared from the description in the book. I'm not entirely sure what to do with them. There's at least with the setup that I had with the infantry in the center and the archers on the wings, maybe make an attack in the center and try to break them that way. Those archers are just potent. I don't know. All right, well, this one was interesting. I didn't have that much fun with it because it really never turned out into a real battle. The Crusaders were just so far behind so long. And again, maybe my cheating happened and that could have affected things. I had to look it up this turn to make sure I couldn't. All right, let's send this one up, and I think I'm gonna do American Megafauna next. I know it's a bigger game than I want to put in between these, but I'm just really in the mood to get it played.